people have now taken to spirituality and meditation like in big way. So that is like one gift of India to the world.
Welcome to TBH with Vitra. That's short for Travel Beyond Home. I'm your host, Vitra, and this podcast is all about culture, connection, and building a global sisterhood, one conversation at a time. Travel isn't just about checking off places on a map. It's about hearing the stories that bring those places to life, the everyday moments, traditions, and small details that guidebooks can miss. Now, I have a big goal to talk to one woman from every country, real women sharing their lives, their cultures, and their unique perspectives. Each episode is a chance to learn something new, have some fun, and see the world through fresh eyes. Today, we are traveling to India. Now, when you think of India, you might picture the Taj Mahal, colorful spices, and cows blocking traffic. But that's just the beginning. This is a nation of over 1.4 billion people, all living side by side. And while cities like Mumbai showcase striking contrasts, like skyscrapers next to slums, the majority of India's population live in rural areas, relying on farming for their livelihood. These layers of wealth, struggle, tradition, and progress shape the country's complex reality. India isn't just one story, it's millions of stories unfolding at once, and we get to hear one of them today. My guest is Nivedita Basu, who is a total boss lady. She has over 2 decades of experience in the film and entertainment industry, contributing to some of India's most iconic TV shows. She's also co-owner of Miller House Mumbai, a restaurant that's as much about experience as it is about food. And she has her own podcast, What's Your Calling? She is very active on her Instagram, and you should follow her there at Nivedita Basu. Nivi, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Vitra. I am so glad that, we connected like this on this podcast because it's quite an interesting thing. I mean, of course, I do a podcast, which is again about inspiring stories, but sitting there in, America, if you can give a slice of everyone's life and their country, I think it's amazing.
Well, thank you. So I want to start us off with a little bit of fun. I'm going to put 3 minutes on a timer, and then I'm just going to ask you questions back to back to back, and you just answer the first thing that comes to mind, and let's see how many we can get. Okay, if India were a woman, how would you describe her?
Beautiful, traditional.
What's an Indian tradition that you love?
Diwali.
What is your comfort food? Your favorite comfort food?
Salad.
One thing that tourists in India should never do.
Have this image that it's all about cows walking on the street.
How do you shop for your groceries?
Online.
What is your favorite Indian festival?
Holi and Diwali.
What languages do you speak?
English, Hindi, Bengali, Punjabi, Marathi, and a little bit of Malayalam.
If India had a national emoji, what would it be? She's showing the heart, everybody. Heart. If you had to live in another country, where would you choose?
I don't know, somewhere I've always imagined in my dream, I'm in a New Zealand living on a beach. So I don't know. I've never been to New Zealand.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, you are a mom of 2 girls. Describe your parenting style.
Uh, lots to learn.
Okay. What is one thing everyone should know about the Indian culture?
Oh, I think the fact that it's a huge culture which people are not aware of. We have from mountains to sea to river to forest, so it's a big country. So when people come, they come only to specific places. It's Rajasthan, you have backwaters and you have Jaipur. But if you go towards the northeast, it's beautiful. I mean, now Indians are exploring that side of India as well. So that's something which they should really add in their itinerary.
What do you miss the most about home when you are outside of India?
I think the comfort. I think Bombay is too comfortable, and the convenience which we have in India. I mean, we all are aware when we stay abroad. The house help which you have everything at the drop of a call. So I think all that is a little tough when you travel.
What's something that is in almost every Indian home?
Masala.
Okay, what is one dish or drink that visitors must try?
In India. So every state has a different one, which if I tell you, like in Bombay, there's pav bhaji. In South, there's idli dosa. In the North, there's chola bhatura. In Bengal, there is the mustard fish. So I think because I told you, India is very vast and different, culturally. So whichever part they're going, they should like actually Google and check because there is a dish in every state.
Who's the most famous person you've worked with?
Ekta Kapoor.
All right. Our timer's up. So we did 16 questions. Nice job.
Not bad.
Let's get into the heart of today's conversation, which is life and culture in India. Let's talk about first impressions because upon arriving, many visitors will notice the extreme wealth and the stark poverty living side by side. And it can be hard to understand how such different worlds exist in the same space. How would you help someone understand that reality when they arrive in the country for the first time?
So, I used to think India like kind of dominates in that, but when I traveled to other smaller countries in Southeast Asia, it was worse. Like when I went to Bangladesh, I saw like absolute dump of poverty. But if you see today's present government, if the present government and the PMO, he's tried to reduce that gap hugely. So if you see now the state of people which are like downtrodden, I'm not talking about the elites because they are privileged, they have all of that, and there is a huge gap. But that down state people, they have gotten better. Their amenities have gotten better. So I think India is kind of getting there. Of course, there is disparity. I won't disagree because the rich here are almost now top across the world. They're not just now rich Indians. They are, I think, the richest in the world. So I think the good part about the last two terms in India has been that India has grown immensely. And that has helped in a way because the rich have also started doing a lot of philanthropic work and they've started helping the poor. I mean, I have seen a major difference in the past 10 years. And now when I have, like, I mean, my kids have grown and now they're at a position where they know and see that when my kids were growing up, the first few years of birthday, we used to do in charitable organizations. We used to tell them that learn the concept of giving. If you're able to teach our kids that, this is what they're supposed to do and this is like their foundational, it is going to get better. But like I said, it will take time, but in 10 years, I do see the difference.
For someone who's never been to India, how would you describe life in India?
You'll be surprised, Vitra. I have, if I pick up, say, 10 friends of mine who married, foreigners, you would have thought that earlier Indians marrying would be to go abroad. But surprisingly, 9 out of 10 have settled in India. So definitely there is so much more to offer to anyone who's now coming to India because they see the difference. Like I told you in the rapid fire, where like the moment you go out, the convenience which is there in India is unmatchable. So the fact that these people have decided to come and set up their companies, set up their restaurants, set up their businesses here means India has become very open to, things which foreigners might want to adapt to here. So I think the good part is the convenience which is there. Like I said, the vast culture and the place India is. So, like, if you're not a hill person, you can actually go to the beach and live. If you're not a beach person, you actually have like a whole forest land where people can live. India is making it very comfortable for a lot of people to choose what kind of living they want to do. And 50 years back, probably when our parents were getting married, for them marrying, abroad or marrying a foreigner was to move abroad, and now everything is there in India.
So you talked about this in the beginning about the convenience that India offers. Tell me exactly the things that you were talking about in terms of convenience.
So, a basic thing when a girl gets married and, like plans to have kids, I know I have my friends, who struggle and their kids, like even when they're like 1 or 2 months old, they have to put them in daycare. We have that convenience in India. And I think it's not about class. When you said the disparity in class, I'm talking about a lower middle class. My maid who works for me and who does my household work, she had a child and she had a helper taking care of the child. So you can imagine that is a basic convenience, a girl wants when she's having a baby. There's postpartum depression, there's work, there's so much, there's so much on your platter. But the moment a girl gets pregnant here, she starts sourcing for her help who's going to be with her pre-pregnancy to post. I mean, I have had help. My kids are like almost 7+, but I still have that help. So I feel bad when I go out that people are doing everything on their own. I mean, it's a great thing and we would want to do that, but sometimes you just want to plug off and do your own thing. You want to concentrate on your career, your ambition, your other duties as a family, as a professional, so many things. So, and it's such a basic thing of having help for everything. To clean, to having a clean house every day, probably 2 times a day, having your utensils clean. You probably, if you don't want to have a washing machine, there are girls who come and like wash them with their hand because, like I said, there is so much poverty and there is so much need for them to do this work. So it's always a good thing. You're also creating employment for them. So I think that is something which is like we are blessed beyond words, and I'm so grateful that we're able to utilize that while we are in this country.
What does being Indian mean to you? Outside of the fact, of course, that you were born in India.
So, like I said, what we expected from our government and economy a while back, and we used to feel that we were at a back foot. Trust me, in the past 10 years, anywhere in the world, I mean, and me and my husband travel a lot. It's like suddenly that whole scale has gone up. So, when we go out, people are like, oh, you're from India, because we have done drastically well. We're the only economy which has done plus than any country in the world. So it's like the kind of progress India is making, the kind of economy it has become, the kind of growth we've had financially, and like in the complete way. So I think suddenly the whole pride has gone up of being an Indian, apart from the fact, like you said, we're born in India.
What traditions or parts of the Indian culture do you love the most?
I think Indian marriages are very, very beautiful and picturesque. And I almost feel today, if you see Indian marriage videos, which are very, very cultish right now, it's like you're watching a film. I mean, you don't really have to have actors and actresses do that. And the longer traditions, like, so I came and got married into a South Indian traditional family. So that was also so pretty. But when you see a Punjabi family, they have functions which go on for 8 days. Of course, the infamous Ambani wedding we know of, which went on for months and months and had the whole world, like swarming in to see what it was. So I think that is something which is such a quintessential part of any household. I mean, we've seen the poor having the fanciest weddings, of course, with their bandwidth, whatever they can do. But they put in their life savings and resources, which I think in any other part of the country is not so much. A lot of people internationally, they just choose to have a smaller wedding, maybe a party, or maybe just like having a very, very close affair. But India, it isn't that. So that I think is something which we grow into when we are kids. I told about the wedding. We've seen it as a child and we want that. It's very aspirational. So that's like a fun thing.
Okay, so you talked about this a little bit in the Q&A portion. You said your favorite festival was Diwali. So for those who don't know, tell us a little bit about that holiday. What does it signify and how is it celebrated?
Diwali was basically celebrated for, if you heard the Ramayana, it was like when Ram came back and everything was happy, and they kind of lit the whole city up to celebrate that it's the homecoming. In India also, it has its significance because we have a lot of foreign, like all our expats and NRIs who go out, they kind of choose to come during Diwali to home, because it's like meeting the family, everyone kind of like joins in. We light up our entire houses with the electric lights. And then we have diyas also. Diyas are like small pots with oil. We pray to Lakshmi because what Diwali is supposed to do is supposed to give you wealth. So everyone prays for wealth because I mean, it's so ironic, however wealthy you are, you always pray for something more. There's something more you always want. So, I mean, significance is that they pray for that. But I think it is super fun. I remember as kids, the early memories of my life were Diwali means we have to go a week before, buy new clothes, buy crackers, buy sweets, and whatever was in your friend circle. So, if my parents wanted to give like 25 people something, it had to be something, if not sweets, something which signified their family, if they want to give a thali plate, if they want to give a puja, something. So it had also to be exchange of gifts. And that is the mandate, even in corporates. I mean, I worked in companies. The moment Diwali is coming a month before we start deciding what is going to be given. So it's a beautiful, concept. I mean, it's like an affair, it's like a huge affair of a month and a half. And now there's also this fun part which is going on, which is like a trivia. We play cards. So it's almost like it's legally allowed to like kind of gamble also. So it's a fun thing. I mean, and anyone who's visiting during Diwali, oh my God, you'll be welcome with open arms. So it's like a good time to visit.
Okay, what are one or two rituals or superstitions within the Indian culture that people around the world might find interesting?
So praying is a very normal thing, and I don't think it's very conditional. But in our family, especially, whenever somebody passes away, they have this thing for 10 days or 14 days, they will not go in the temple or pray. So, I came from a very liberal house because my parents were not even deity worshippers. I mean, we would go to the temple because my grandparents serviced, a particular temple and a charitable hospital for 27 years. So we used to go. But like in my early years, like today in India, they have this culture, oh, we have to go to this temple, we have to go to that temple. So we didn't have that. My father was like, if you're praying, it has to be here. So we didn't have like especially a puja room or doing that, but we would go there. So we were not atheists, but we were believers in our own way. But when I came to a South Indian household, it is extreme, like it's like three times praying, adhering to these things. So I think with every culture it changes, and more so it changes with the family. So every family also has their ritual. Then in India, they also have that thing, and especially for women, like during the menstrual cycle, they are not allowed to do anything which is supposed to be pious. So I again came from a household where my father didn't even question that. So we didn't even have to raise that, oh, can we go? Because he didn't care and he didn't bother. But you have to be very reserved in India. And trust me, it's not just my family. It's 90% of India who kind of believes in that. So these are small, small things. And of course, like I said, when we go to temples, vis-a-vis churches, we remove our basic slippers and footwear to go in, because that's a respect we give to our gods. We kind of bow down and we kind of like pray. That's like a mandate. You just can't go and stand coolly. So I think we kind of do that when we go out also. Like, I mean, recently I was in Japan, So the moment we enter the temple, we had this thing of removing the footwear, even though it wasn't needed there. But my kids, the moment when you say pray, the first thing we do is like kind of like bow down to do that. So I think that's a good culture which we have imbibed and we kind of take it anywhere, any god, and even in a church, probably they're doing that.
What are some important things to know about Indian people?
I think the biggest thing is the Indians are foodies, man. Oh my God. It's like the moment somebody is coming, it is all about food. Even though the other person has said, we are coming after a lunch, we are coming after a dinner, please don't give us anything. The first thing Indians do, which is, it's also a saying called Atiti Devo Bhava, which means every guest is almost a god. You have to treat him like a god. So, how much ever they deny that, Indians have to like showcase their best food there. So the first thing Indians are foodies, and second thing they like to dress up. And I have seen that, of course, Bombay is a little more, like it's more Cosmo and more uppity. But the moment you go into the interiors, or even you go up north, even in the bigger cities, the culture now is like my friends who are like designers or running stores, they are doing thumping business because even for a 5-year-old's birthday party, for a grandparent's 50th or 75th anniversary, they are dressing up in their finery. And suddenly the costume business is also doing so well. So I think these are two things which are there. And of course, like I said, they're very, very ritualistic when it comes to their religion. That is something they adhere to wherever they're coming from.
As a mom of two young girls, do you feel they face more challenges in India than the boys do? And if so, how does that shape how you parent them?
Actually not at all. Somehow the trend has changed and it's the reverse. People are now scared of which girls they are getting married into because they have become very bold because of the exposure and everything. So we never have that issue. In fact, I have seen my girls like so, boisterous and loud and having like an opinion. So I think the trends are really changing. And I've seen that not just in big cities, even in small towns. I've been to places like Indore, I've been to Kerala. Kerala is, of course, a very, very progressive city because it's a 100% literate state in the country. So I think that whole fear which 20 years down people had, or when we were growing up, when we were told to behave a certain way and do certain things, it's kind of fading away. The line is fading away. I am married into a matriarchal society where a girl gets everything. So I remember when my in-laws told me that they had a boy who's my husband. They were like little sad because, the wealth kind of goes to the girl. So you're from being a place where there was female feticide, where people would be unhappy that a girl is born, to now where they want girls. Because trust me, that's the nature of a girl for being responsible. So a girl child takes care of her parents till she kind of dies. Whether she's married, becomes a grandparent, she's still doing that. So I have seen parents saying, we want a girl. We want a girl because a guy will not take care. He'll get married to his wife and he'll move somewhere abroad, or he'll move to another place, will not have that. So that whole trend has changed 180 degree.
You talked a little bit again about this, but how does family life for you compare today than it was when you were growing up?
I don't know whether it's a boon or it's a handicap. Like this, the exposure to digital media. I mean, of course, it has its plus. But that is something, it's such a catch 22, whether to expose your kids to that or not. I mean, my kids were born during COVID, and everything was on the iPad, and and once they get used to it for 4 years, suddenly you tell them, no, it's nothing, you do nothing. And sometimes I feel proud that when we were in Japan, my daughter knew so much about the place because of our exposure to the iPad. So you're always caught in that. We were exposed to only books and a little bit of, obviously, you learn from your surroundings, meeting people. So I think here the world has become so small because of your media and your exposure to the digital media. So I always take it as a plus. We still have our grandparents and the old people going on saying, oh, limit it. Of course, you should control it. I'm not saying let them go haywire and like go crazy on the gram. But like exposure to the media is like a great, great plus, because trust me, how much ever parents sit and do everything, they'll never be able to catch up with what all is happening, because you also have limited knowledge. I will know what I know and I can teach. But what if their mind is like telling them to ask and check on something, and then one thing leads to another. And it's interesting. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I am besotted by the medium and I'm a huge fan. And it's very tough that I'm a fan and I'm saying, no, no, you don't do it.
Okay, so now let's switch gears a little bit and talk about mindset. And you talked about this too, modern life in India, how people see the world, approach challenges, and adapt to change. So, is there a definition overall about what a good life means to people in India?
I think, like I told you, post COVID, the whole definition has changed. Now, everyone wants a good night's sleep and to wake up in the morning. Trust me. And this is for everyone. My maid who comes to clean. Earlier, probably she aspired to have a big house, everything. Now, everyone wants good health. I don't know. See, we follow more in India that, so many tragedies have happened post COVID, and, people just like pass out, like at 20, somebody's dying in a gym, 25, something has happened. So I think our basic needs and wants are being fulfilled, which is okay. But I think everyone wants good health, good mental space, and basics, which is great.
Okay. And speaking of health and mental space, when life gets stressful, something doesn't go your way, or these sort of negative things that happen in life, is there a particular mindset or practice within the Indian culture that really helps people find peace and balance?
So, see, India is primarily a culture where a lot of praying is done, which has now obviously reduced to meditation. So, whether it is yoga or meditation, so that is an integral part of us. I mean, there are other cultures who are adapting to it now. People are coming and, trying to become yogis. So, we have that huge plus of having that as a device. So, I think everyone has their own way of being spiritual, using meditation, and using these small devices. Of course, now the modern thing is like they won't probably practice yoga, they'll go to a gym. Or somebody like me will just go out to play a game. So health has become so important for everyone that every time they're going through some stress and all, it's not about the thing, that what is that thing they're not able to fulfill. It kind of boils down to, it shouldn't affect my health. I should be able to live. I should be there, to take care of my kids. So, like I said, thanks to the Indian culture, we have meditation, we have spirituality, we have yoga, which a lot of people have adapted to. I mean, I did it through both my pregnancies. And I was like super, like, I'd like totally like detach myself from the world. Of course, there was problem. I wasn't working. I was scared that, my professional life will go down, because in India, it's like out of sight, out of mind. So all of that was there, but I was like, Zen state. I want to just do like yoga and relax. So I think that is our advantage, that, we grow into it and we are born into it. And I think that's a device now internationally everyone is using. So it's something we're proud of.
If you had to choose a part of Indian life or culture to share with the rest of the world, something that you think would be beneficial to the rest of the world, what would that thing be?
So the thing which I just mentioned now, the making meditation a part of your life, making yoga a part of life, because see, you can gym, you can play a sport, which is great. I mean, you should do it. But yoga is not just that. Yoga is also not about just being hyper and doing. It's also about relaxing your mind, which a lot of sport and gymming won't do. It kind of gives you that adrenaline rush, but somewhere you also need to slow down. So a lot of times, people, it's called shavasana. It's like just resting. Shavasana means resting, like almost like a dead body. But it is so relaxing, because that whole narrative which goes of a teacher where he tells you that everything. He'll tell you each body part. your head is kind of resting over your left hand, your left finger, your fourth finger. So it just is so hypnotic. I can't tell you. It is something which everyone should do. Meditation. I mean, I know of people who adapted, and not just in small numbers, in huge numbers. I mean, people have now taken to spirituality and meditation like in big way. So that is like one gift of India to the world. And that is something which I have to tell them. Then, and celebrating every small occasion. I don't know whether they do it abroad or not, but that's a good part, like celebrate every small thing, because you don't know whether you will be there for the next big thing. So just go out and like live your life.
I like that. Okay, now let's move into the last section of this, which is a little bit about travel. In terms of visitors coming to the country, any advice in terms of safety?
When you come, it's just that, see, people try to take advantage, not that you're a foreigner, even of Indians here. So even if I go to a small town, suddenly they think that, oh, you have the wealth and you're flaunting it, come, let me fleece you. But I've had this experience outside also. Somehow people think that, oh, let me price that one thing which is of X to Y. And let's see if he kind of like buys better. And that's just probably our nature, like I said, the poor people just think that it's your time to make money, it's tourism, but it's everywhere. When I travel internationally abroad, tourist season, everyone's making money. Anything which is of X becomes Y everywhere. So I think that stays universal. But nonetheless, what I would like to say is that just don't come to the four places which are top on the list. Try exploring the other places also, because they're beautiful. I mean, if you go to Calcutta, it's like an old book. It was like so picturesque, and it's so apt, to shoot a film or series, because you don't need to do anything production wise. You put your camera in front of a building, you can have like a surreal sort of a background. So there's so much to explore. So I think go beyond the top five places and start like scrolling down and check the other places also.
Okay, what are mistakes that you see people who are coming from abroad? What mistakes are they making that they should not be doing when they come to India?
So don't flaunt that you're very wealthy and you don't know anything about the place, because right now everything is on the ground. Like when I travel to any country, I pretend I know everything. So if he's saying I want to go there, and I said, yeah, there. So they kind of know that, oh, maybe she knows, or maybe she has somebody who has that thing. So I think don't just drop in and surrender yourself that you don't know anything. Oh, I'm lost. I'm like a lost, and then the wood kind of a damsel. And now with social media, it is so easy to kind of just track what you're doing and where you're doing, So it's like a basic thing, get into a rickshaw. Earlier, you would get fleeced because he's taking you around the whole world and taking you to a place, and oh, the bill is like 20 grand. But today, you put yourself on a Google map, you're there in like 200 rupees. So, these are small, basic things which is not like a country centric, but otherwise also, So if you're going to a place and he's telling you that, oh, this entry will cost you this much, tap, you go on the gram and just check, oh, it's just like 50 bucks. I know it. So I think, like I said, internet for me is a huge boon, because I don't do anything. So while I have so it's not like I don't use, but a guide is that I do listen to him about the history and all. But for the other things, nobody can fleece you. And why would you get fleeced in India? If you know your things, and if you have just a phone in your hand, anything and everything can be accessed and you will not be cheated. I'm pretty sure about it.
Okay, in terms of respect and manners and etiquette, what are things that foreigners should not do or should do to respect the local customs, the local way of life, local traditions?
See, frankly speaking, when I've seen foreigners coming in, they are very grateful and they have a lot of gratitude. So, uh, like I said, these basic things which I told you of getting into a temple with your footwear off, or having just that respect when you see somebody of doing a namaste. Like, so that's one Indian thing, which is like namaste. The moment you bend down, it's also in, by the way, Thai, it's there in Japan and everywhere, so it's like a basic thing. We came back from Japan about a month back and we greeted them, like arigato and, like the stuff we knew. So it just kind of connects you, So when foreigners come, they say namaste. Oh, they're like, oh, wow, Hindi. So it just breaks the ice and you're there.
Okay, speaking of temple, tell me about this pushing culture in temples, because during my experience in India, and when I went to visit temples, you expect it to be a place that you go in and you find some peace and you find some bliss and some quiet. And I was surprised that everyone is pushing. Is that still the case?
So I'll tell you, the basic problem in India is about the population. When you say 1.4 billion, all this. So that is, I think, the biggest problem in India. And it so happens that some temples have become very, very commercially popular. Where I took my initiation from, that temple is very serene. In fact, so many times the other one choose to go there because it has that. But then you also have the commercial temple where the whole world is going. People are saying this is very powerful. You get this here, you can get that blessing here, you can get a child here, you can get money here, you will become like super rich in your business. So people have this thing of going there, and what do you do about the population? You can't like limit some people, and you can't tell some people to have access. So it's just to do with your, like I said, supply and demand. It's not like you'll never see a temple where there are 10 people and you're getting pushed, because that's not the case. There will not, either there will not be 10 people, or, it's like a thing which is unavoidable. I mean, we face it all the time.
Okay, last question. For visitors who want to have a really local experience in India, what are your tips?
So now, Vitra, in fact, one of my friends, he celebrated his 50th birthday, and on Instagram, he found these group of locals. So he went and actually stayed in a village, lived with them. He went to the fields with them. He plowed the field with them. So now there are so many groups. People have started understanding that now tourists also want a different experience than just going to Taj Mahal and just clicking a photo. They want to do the basic thing. So there are so many things happening now in India. All you have to do is just explore. So if a person wants to live, I mean, we have Airbnb, have sharing, have couch surfing. There's so many things where you can actually go and choose where you want to live and with whom. So the moment you go there, you almost become a part of that family. If you're just coming solo as a traveler, just find your sources. You can interact now. Before, it's not like, oh, I've sent a mail and the reply will come in 33 years. It's like, it's so prompt, and there are people who are organizing that. I have friends in the Himalayas who do like these packages, tours, village folk, city folk living in the 5 stars. So there are people who are doing that, and Indians are finding it blissful to even do that, rather than being in this whole rut of the corporate circle. They are choosing to do stuff which is passionate and makes them money. So it's much easier now for foreigners. So I think they should choose that. Don't choose the top 5 places and the top 5 things to do. Say what all unexplored things of India can be done. Probably just put the right search in the engine, and then you'll get it.
Okay, thank you. So before we wrap up, I like to ask my guests to share a small project so that people who are watching or listening can bring a piece of India into their own home wherever they are in the world. So it could be a recipe, a local slang. Do you have any ideas for us?
So like I said, the basic thing to break the ice and having everything kind of forgotten is like namaste. The moment you bend, fold your hands and say namaste, you have hit home. You will never have a problem. And I'll give it on a stamp paper that you won't have that. And of course, like I said, India is very, very popular. The first thing anyone walks into anyone's house is offered chai, which is tea leaves, water. Indians like to put a lot of like condiments into it. They'll put like ginger, sugar, you kind of strain it. And that's like the first thing before they offer even water to you.
Okay, awesome. So for anyone who wants to try the namaste or try to make chai, please share a photo on Instagram with the hashtag TBH with Vitra India. So I know it's from this episode and I will repost it. Okay, Nivi, thank you so much for taking us into your life in India and sharing your time with us. To those watching or listening, whether you've been to India or are now inspired to go, I hope you discovered new and fascinating things about the culture. And if you enjoy this episode, please share it with a friend, and you can join my journey on Instagram at TBH with Vitra. We still have so much more of the world to explore. Until next time, stay curious and stay kind.